We're going to talk about the importance of having an S Corp. How many of you guys currently are an agent and do not have an S Corp? Raise your hand. So I got like half the room here. Kurt, KP. Okay. All right. So if you guys do not have an S Corp, you are going to cost yourself thousands and thousands of dollars every single year. Let me explain the basics of how this works. Let's just assume that you made $100,000. And we're going to do two examples of this. Okay, we're going to do the S Corp way. Hopefully you guys can see this. And we're going to do the sole prop way, which if you don't have an S Corp, you're considered a sole proprietor. So you made $100,000 both ways. So after you make that $100,000, you're going to deduct your expenses from that. Let's assume you had $10,000 in expenses. So I'm going to have $10K in expenses on both of these. That leaves us with $90,000. So we're all the same to this point, right? Like we had income, we had expenses. We figure out what is our taxable income. This is where sole props and S Corps split off from each other. This is where the magic happens. In your sole proprietorship, you're going to pay something called self-employment tax. That is 15.3%. So, Jason, you're my math guy. 15.3% on $90,000 is how much? Should have made it an easier example and just made it 100. He's calculating.
Yeah, basically 14,000.
Okay, so you're going to pay $14,000 in tax there. Now, here's what's going to happen on our S Corp is the money is going to get split into two different directions now. You have to pay yourself a reasonable salary. When I say this, yes, that means you actually have to have like payroll and stuff like that. If you guys need a good payroll company, Gusto is great. Guess where you can go to find info on Gusto? Gusto.kylewhissel.com. You can get info on Gusto there. It's a super easy system for helping you with payroll and managing all of that stuff. So you got to take a reasonable salary. What's a reasonable salary? I don't know, whatever you could justify to an auditor if you ever get audited. So let's roll with $40,000.
That's probably the lowest you're going to get away with as a realtor.
Yeah, 40 is probably the lowest. You cannot pay yourself a $4,000 salary. That's not going to fly. It's got to be something reasonable. That's like 20 bucks an hour. That's a reasonable number. All right. So you're going to have 40K that's going to go in salary. And then you're going to have 50K that's going to go as a distribution is what they call it. All right. So then how do we get taxed on this? Well, this 40K, we get taxed the exact same way is this 15.3% self-employment tax. So I don't need a calculator for that one. That's roughly 6K. All right. And then what do we get taxed on this 50,000? Those of you guys with an S Corp know. How much do you get taxed on this 50? Don't all jump at once. How much do we have to pay here?
0.
Yeah, there it is. 0. Okay. So this gives us a grand total of taxes that we pay over here, if this would write better, of $6,000. Our grand total over here is $14,000. 14,000 minus 6,000 is a savings of $8,000. So if you make $100,000 a year, have $10,000 in expenses, and you don't have an S Corp, you're costing yourself $8,000 a year.
So distributions from an S Corp are not taxed?
Correct. Distributions from your S Corp are not taxed.
How much is the CPA?
Now, a good CPA would not let you make the sole proprietor mistake. Now, let me be clear. You're still going to pay income tax
and payroll tax.
Right. This is your payroll tax.
And
That's
payroll tax. You also got to pay a fee per month for payroll. You
Yeah,
also have
but
to
it's not an
pay
$8,000
per
fee.
year for your license, plus your license per year.
What license?
You have to pay your $800 annual dues to have a corporation, but you're still going to pay income tax, right? This is just at the employment level. Then you pay your regular income tax on everything else. That doesn't change. So you still had $90,000 in income tax that you're going to pay taxes on. This is your W-2 income. Is this 40K right here?
So why would you still pay self-employment tax on that? If you're
Because
W-2,
it's the same amount. It's just technically it's FICA, Social Security, all that other stuff so this 15.3 is the equivalent of paying FICA and Social Security and all of those things. So you're gonna pay that same 15.3, but it's only gonna be on what you salary yourself, what's on your payroll, your W-2. Everything in excess of that is a distribution, and you don't have any tax at the corporate level. So therefore, that flows through to you personally, and then you're going to pay your taxes from that point forward, which if we go blue today, that number is like, I don't know, 95% or something. So you may make more money on food
Only
stamps
for those making over $400,000.
than you do.
Only if you
Yes.
make over 400.
Yeah, food stamps may pay more than real estate when this is done. Not that I'm telling you which way to vote or which way I voted, just stating facts. Okay.
I mean, your cup is red.
Yeah. So here's the thing on this. Can you go on LegalZoom and form an S corp? You can. Like Jared said, you can and you can hire Redfin as well to sell your house. So you could go the cheap route, hire LegalZoom, and then when you go meet with the real CPA, they're going to tell you LegalZoom screwed it up and you have to redo it anyway. So if you look through previous meetings, we had Christina Hess, Kristina.
That's who I use. Christina
You could
Hess.
hire. What's that, Louis?
Oh, that's who I used, Christina Hess, and she was awesome.
Yeah. Christina Hess is amazing. So just look for Hess, Hess. It's in Workplace. You can find it. She actually did a whole meeting on this too. So you guys can go back and watch where she talked a lot more about S Corps. You need to have an S Corp. Hire a professional to set it up. Could you do it cheaper on LegalZoom? Yes. Could you do it better by hiring Christina? Yes. Your choice. Whichever one you want to do. You can go cheaper or better. I like the better route because if I set it up the right way, I don't have any issues and have to go back and fix it or deal with potential audits or anything in the future. So you guys need to have an S corporation. If you're making a net $90,000 a year and you don't have one, you're costing yourself $8,000. That's basically another extra transaction added to your pocket if you set up an S corp as opposed to having that money come in as a sole proprietor.